It's the second edition of the tracking mark. Welcome back. I am Nate once more. Let's jump right into exercise 2, articulated roto. This is the yoga in the subway. We've got first here an example from Darren.
Yeah, you could do yoga here, but we think you'd like it better here.
Mocha is maybe my favorite tool in all of After Effects. Just FYI, it's one of the most powerful things. Let's take another look. I'm not going to spend too much time on these because Mark is going to take the real deep dive into how he would go about doing the assignment. But some things I like that he flipped the footage here, so we've got our person facing the other direction. We've got, you'll see this in various examples, but most of you had some take on a reflection or a shadow in the floor, which is a good thing to be thinking through when compositing. I'm noticing she seems to be missing part of her wrist here. That's really the only noticeable problem there. The hair is tricky, but Darren's done a pretty good job for the most part. There's a lot going on in the shot. You've got to piece together so many different pieces using different techniques. So this is it's quite a challenge, and it's kind of divided by her clothes. You know, you've got the pants is one section, the torso is another, the arms are another, and the head is kind of two. It's got the hair in the back and the hair on the top. One thing that somebody brought up was motion blur and how they were trying to reintroduce motion blur, and I realized that the source footage of our yoga practitioner here has almost no motion blur because it was shot with a higher shutter speed. Although this dimly lit subway interior, you can see a ton of motion blur in this man's foot, for example. So there's a bit of a mismatch, and that's something that you might run into with compositing. It's a bit of a challenge. There is a pixel motion blur effect that you can apply and see if that will give you some artificial blur based on the movement of different items, and you'll see mixed results with that. But anyway, off on a tangent. That was Darren's project. Color balancing is looking pretty good. He's on the right track here. Very nice. Now we'll pull up, let's see, Andy.
Yeah, you could do yoga here, but we think you'd like it better here.
I'm seeing some really nice, clean lines along the arms. I love having this blue background, the solid color, because it gives us a really convenient way to evaluate how well the roto has been done here, and it's flawless along this arm, so that's very nice. None of the white fringing from the original white background, and the hair is looking pretty darn great. With pretty much any example of the hair, you can nitpick and look and see that there might be little bits of chatter, but you can't 100% tell if that's just the hair itself, if that's video compression, or if that's an artifact of the actual extract or roto brush effect. But this is a very good example of the hair. Nice little contact shadow with the matte. Good stuff. And also we've got a little sign, Roto World. That's a nice little nod to the assignment itself. Good job, Andy. Okay, we've got Philip here.
Yeah, you could do yoga here, but we think you'd like it better here.
One thing I'll point out, this isn't specific to Phillips, this is about the footage itself. The pants are blown out, the highlights on the pants, there's no detail in the footage, so it's a little hard to pull that back to match the lighting of the subway. So that's just something that we've all had to deal with, everybody who's done this assignment. So the more that you bring down the whites, the more it just looks like a detail-less piece of clothing, which is a little bit frustrating to deal with. But everybody's done a pretty admirable job with color correction and trying to rein that in and make her look like like she belongs in the scene. There are a few little issues, little artifacts here with the hair, but this is working pretty well for the most part. A few little things on the side of the head too. This roto brush is a beast, and really it requires a lot of patience and a lot of practice. But the arms are looking pretty good. This is a nice example. Good job, Philip. Okay, Stone, what have you made? So I'm already noticing a much lighter color scheme. He's altered the background a little bit, I think brightened that up. So everything has a bit of a blown out look, which helps actually with the pants. A little bit more washed out, a little less saturated.
Yeah, you could do yoga here, but we think you'd like it better here.
I'm seeing some really excellent work in the hair. Check that out. So for those who've been struggling with different parts, you can access in the homework locker, you can look at each other's After Effects files and see, examples of how other people have done the different effects, the different pieces. And I would recommend, finding a few of your favorite examples and going and looking at them. This is one that I would recommend for the hair. I would love to take a look and see what you've done with the hair here. It's a little bit of black magic. This is a really good example stone. And as always, other bits of the Roto are tricky. I mean, these pant legs, I don't envy you guys having to deal with that flap. That's just not great. Alrighty. Good job, Stone. Robert. Let's look here. Okay, right off the bat, just for the first couple of frames here, there's a little funky something going on where we appear to be floating because the man in the background is overlapping with the footage of the mat. So that's something to be careful of and watch out for. Looks like you've resized our character here so she's much larger and her head's kind of going out of the frame. Probably want to avoid that, so I would just scale her down a bit so her head's at least within the frame. That would probably help avoid this little physical impossibility going on here too. But let's proceed to play.
Yeah, you could do yoga here, but we think you'd like it better here.
I'm seeing some nice Roto. Pretty soft edges you've got on the arms. I might sharpen those a little bit. But the Roto's not bad. There are the occasional little dark edges bleeding in. The hair is not looking bad. There are little glitches here and there, like you can get rid of that probably with an extract or something. Oh, and he's replaced the sign as well. That's a nice touch. The color correction here is looking very nice. I'm really a fan of that. And that is Robert's. Okay, last example we'll look at here. This is Andrea.
Yeah, you could do yoga here, but we think you'd like it better here.
Got a few little issues going on with the face here. The face, probably a Roto brush artifact is what that looks like. But speaking of Roto brush, the hair down here below is looking especially nice. Got a little glitch in here, but down here, that hair is working really well. Sometimes you might have to split this into two pieces, and I think the arms give us a really nice place to do that. If you create hard masks around the solid masses around the arms and the torso, then you can just let the Roto brush worry about this detail without worrying about the solid edges. Our color correction, I think you could go a little darker with the hair, or maybe I'm just used to the last few examples that have really kind of pulled the contrast, but the background, the blacks are fairly crushed, so I'd probably add a little bit of that back into our composite here. Alrighty, so that is the yoga exercise. So we've got a lot of submissions. You guys are really on top of this, so good job.